In the small town of Hyde near Manchester, England, few men were as respected as Dr. Harold Shipman. Polite, dedicated, and always available, he was the kind of general practitioner everyone trusted. He had a gentle voice, a warm demeanor, and he'd been caring for local families for decades. Elderly patients especially loved him. He made house calls, always reassured them, and seemed to genuinely care. But beneath the surface of this kind doctor was a monster, one of the most prolific serial killers in modern history. It wasn't until 1998 that anyone questioned him. That year, the local undertaker, Debbie Massey, noticed something odd. She had handled funerals for many of Dr. Shipman's patients, and recently, the number of elderly people dying under his care had increased dramatically. Even more unusual, most of these people had died at home, not in hospitals or hospices, and often shortly after Shipman visited them. She also noticed they were found fully clothed, seated in chairs or on sofas, as if they had simply stopped breathing during conversation. Families were told it was natural causes, and many believed him without question. But Debbie Massey wasn't convinced. She shared her concerns with a local GP, Dr. Linda Reynolds, who took them to the police. Police conducted a brief inquiry in March 1998, checking a few files, talking to Dr. Shipman, and concluded there was no evidence of wrongdoing. Shipman continued working, but just a few months later, he made a critical mistake. Kathleen Grundy, a well-known 81-year-old former mayor of Hyde, was found dead at home on June 24, 1998. Shipman had visited her that morning and recorded her death as old age, but her daughter, Angela Woodruff, a solicitor, was shocked when she later learned that her mother had supposedly changed her will, leaving everything to Dr. Shipman. Angela knew her mother would never have done that. She contacted police. This time, the investigation was serious. Kathleen Grundy's body was exhumed and tested. It revealed a massive dose of dimorphine, pharmaceutical heroin commonly used for cancer patients but not appropriate for someone like Grundy. Police raided Shipman's office and home. What they found was chilling. Forged documents, including the fake Will A typewriter used to create the falsified will. Medical records altered or deleted. A pattern of deaths following the same signature. They began compiling a list of other suspicious deaths. It grew rapidly. Dozens, then hundreds. The more they looked, the more bodies they found. Shipman had murdered patients in plain sight over decades. His method was disturbingly simple. Visit a patient, usually elderly and alone. Inject them with a lethal dose of morphine or dimorphine. Wait for death, then report it as natural. Assure families nothing was wrong. Sometimes even recommend a local funeral home. No one questioned the kind doctor. He often discouraged autopsies, and death certificates were accepted without issue. The trust people had in him shielded his crimes. It's estimated he killed between 215 to 250 patients, though the real number may never be known. Harold Shipman was arrested in September 1998 and charged with 15 counts of murder, later increased. The trial began in October 1999. The prosecution presented overwhelming evidence, medical records, forged documents, drug logs, and testimony from family members and undertakers. The victims ranged in age, mostly elderly women, many of whom were in otherwise good health. Shipman showed no remorse, no emotion. In January 2000, he was found guilty of 15 counts of murder and 1 count of forgery. He was sentenced to life imprisonment, with the judge stating he should never be released. The most baffling question remains: why? Shipman never confessed. He never explained. Experts speculated motives such as control. He decided when his patients died, playing God. Addiction to power. Killing gave him a sense of superiority. Arrogance. He believed he'd never be caught. Psychopathy. A complete lack of empathy. Some theorize he killed patients who annoyed him, or whom he thought would die soon anyway. A twisted justification. The forging of wills suggests greed also played a part. But the truth is, no single reason could explain the scale of his evil. The aftermath and reforms. The case triggered a massive public inquiry, the Shipman Inquiry, led by Dame Janet Smith. It lasted years and exposed serious flaws in the UK's death certification system. As a result, stricter regulations were introduced for GPs. More oversight of controlled drugs was mandated. A centralized death registry was developed. Doctors' practices became subject to random audits. Shipman's crimes forever changed how patient deaths are reviewed in the UK. The killer's end. On January 13, 2004, Harold Shipman was found dead in his prison cell, hanged with bedsheets. He had committed suicide the day before his 58th birthday. Some believed he took his own life to spare his wife his pension being cut off. Under certain laws, a prison suicide could allow pension access. Others say it was cowardice. To this day, he never confessed to a single murder.